Welcome. How are you, Reza?
Hey everybody, I'm well, Aman. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I think we're live.
Good to go, Superintendent Flahat?
Good to go.
Okay.
Go ahead, Smith.
Welcome, everyone, to this evening's PIC committee meeting. My name is Saad Juman, and I'm the co-chair of the HDSB PIC committee. To start off tonight, I will start off with our land acknowledgement. And before I get into reading the land acknowledgement, I just want to offer a very brief reflection. Earlier this week, I actually attended the launch of Black History Month, put on by the Canadian Caribbean Association. It was held in downtown Oakville. And the Grand Chief of the Mississaugas Credit Nation came to do the land acknowledgement. And for somebody such as myself, maybe all of you can relate. I do hear the land acknowledgement, and I do try to attach some meaning to it whenever I hear it or whenever I read it. But after Monday night, it really hit home even more because as the chief explained to us that evening before he read his version of the land acknowledgement, often we focus on the nations that were on this land before, but he encouraged us to reflect on the other nations that were even here before the human nations. And he gave examples of the fish nation, the tree nation, the insect nation, and he went into a little bit of explanation on each of the nations as well that inhabited the land that we are on right now. So I just wanted to offer that as a little bit of a reflection before we went into our land acknowledgement. So Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron to the Haudenosaunee and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Superintendent Flahat, who is going to introduce us to some of the newest members to the PIC committee.
Well, thank you very much, Saad. Good evening, everyone, and so grateful that we're able to have quite a few members of our PIC committee here this evening with us. And I also wanted to acknowledge and thank and welcome Trustee Zhang. He is a representative from the Board of Trustees to be our representative on the PIC committee. And so we welcome him this evening. And first of all, let's say congratulations on being a trustee with the board officially from our PIC committee here. And welcome. We'll certainly offer you an opportunity if you wanted to say a few words. Happy to do that and pass that on to you, Trustee Zhang.
Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. My name is Xin Zhang, a new member of the committee. So I'd like to have this opportunity to introduce myself to our HDSB families. So in my background, I've been working in software development field for 30 years. So in my spare time, I authored 3 books, computer programming related. And I was a facilitator for a university for a computer information system program. I believe parent involvement is very important to the success of the students. And education is a collective effort of the teachers, parents, and the students. Parents can provide the school board, the school, and direct feedback for improvement. I look forward to meeting you, all the committee members, and working with you in the rest of the year, and working with you, Mr. Flahat, and Trustee Ahmad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Zhang. We absolutely are thrilled to have you. And there is also another trustee that may join later, who is sort of the backup to Trustee Zhang as well, and it's Trustee Naveed Ahmed. We look forward in the future for him joining us some of our meetings. I just thought I would share that with all of you and with the community as well. I wanted to start off by acknowledging and a reminder. I know Saad started talking about a launch, Black History Month. Just wanted to say that Black History Month is alive in the Halton District School Board. And one of the things that it's really important is to recognize, Black History Month is really, it's not just in the month of February. And we just want to make sure that people recognize or are aware that it is a time for reflection. It is a time to celebrate. I do have a short video that I would like to show you, really what the focus is of Black History Month, but the idea of having our community and working with people in the community and the contributions they had and they continue to have in our system, in our board, our teachers, our staff, our students. Our purpose is to make sure that every person feels like they belong, including, of course, the Black community and all of our other communities as well. And so there's a short video that I'd like to show you. It's about a minute long, and I'll play that. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that it's the proper sharing. This video was made by the Honorable Marcy Lin, and hoping that you will enjoy the message and the spirit of the message as we did.
January is Black History Month in Canada, and it's important that we take this opportunity to learn and reflect on some of the incredible contributions that Black Canadians have made in our country. From artists and athletes to politicians and scientists, Black Canadians have helped shape our nation into what it is today. This year's theme, Ours to Tell, is an invitation to join in the work of telling these stories, to reflect on them, learn from them, and find ways to share them within our own communities. Together, let's create a space for celebration, recognition, reflection, and growth. One built on empathy and solidarity, so that true equality can become our collective story. Happy Black History Month. In our own communities.
So that video certainly speaks to a lot of the great things happening in our school board at this time, in classrooms across our system, and just to recognize and celebrate and understand the contributions and the great things happening and the strengths of the people. And so I just thought I would share that with all of you. If you'll remember last year, for some of you who were with us, we had the Honorable Jean Augustine join our call and do a presentation for us here. And the Honorable Jean Augustine was actually the member of Parliament responsible for moving the motion forward to have Black History Month recognized and celebrated across Canada. And she did share the experience with us and also shared about the great things that do happen across our country and the contributions people have made. And so I wanted to acknowledge that, wanted to make sure people took some time to really deeply reflect on how we can all do better to ensure that we have a society that is just and it's focused on inclusion and focused on a welcoming of all different peoples. So going back to the agenda, one of the things that's been happening, it's very exciting. Our PIC conference committee has been getting together. We got together for a meeting not too long ago, a planning meeting, and we are in the process of having different subcommittees. There are people that have taken on some responsibilities, and we are still looking for more people to take on responsibilities. Once those PIC members of this committee take on some of the roles of the subcommittees, as chairing the subcommittees, we will then, those folks will then reach out to PIC reps across our system, hopefully trying to get more people engaged. This conference is going to be very exciting. And again, for people that are tuning in for the first time, we are planning on having our parent engagement conference this year on April 29th. It's a Saturday. And the conference, it will be held in Milton in one of our new schools called Elsie McGill. And we are very excited to hold that conference in Milton at that wonderful new school and to bring community together. We actually have been messaging back and forth, trying to get a speaker, and I wanted to share the theme with the community, but also with the rest of the members here. The theme this year for the conference will be nurturing the whole child, mind, body, and spirit. And we are so happy that we were able to book a keynote speaker, and it's Dr. Jean Clinton, and that we were able to secure. So it took us a while to find that speaker, because her talks and her work and her life's work really relate to the theme of our conference. And I've certainly seen her speak in some of the videos that are available, incredibly engaging, and very, very much knows her work. And I am certain that she will provide information that will be very helpful to parents in helping their children become even more successful. Not only in academics, but she does focus on the work that parents can do to support their whole child. And that's really the theme of our conference. So I wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to chat about that and to share that with the community, but also with our committee here. And the workshops presenters, we're going to be looking at, different organizations, different staff members in our board, people that want to present, and we'll be having a committee that helps us put that together as well. These are the different committees: the workshop presenter committee, the food and catering committee, child minding committee, community displays, and committee. And so these are the different ones. And I know we have Zaina on the line. Zaina is the chair of our conference committee. And I'm so grateful to her for, taking on that role to support us and lead us, because Zaina has a lot of experience. This would be certainly my first time in this particular conference. And I know Saad is also his first time as the co-chair of PIC. But there are some parents that are with us this evening that have experienced the conference in person before the pandemic, which is amazing to have people like this. And Zaina is one of those people. Zaina, I wonder, are you available to talk a little bit about the subcommittees, which I will post shortly on the screen here, and perhaps we can dialogue. Are you available, Zaina?
Yes, I am here, Ivan. So good evening, everyone. Thank you to having me today here. And I will make it so short because of the timing for today. So regarding the subcommittee, we already sent an email to all the members who's here and who cannot make it for tonight. Some of the members, they already signed their names under the type of the subcommittee that they like to volunteer there. So for the food and characters, we have the Lori and Laura. Thank you so much for that. And for the speaker and the workshop, Reem Tantawi and Ali. For the child minding is still blank there. So maybe we have to find someone to cover that subcommittee. For the community display and the community table, we have Jennifer and we have Diana. For the student volunteer, we need a high school student. The volunteer hours will be counted and a volunteer hour letter will be distributed. So as long as we are live tonight, so I am seeking all the parents, all the high school students, please sign up so that you can help us and we can help you. We are here together to help each other. For the registration on the day of the registration, which is in the morning of the conference, we need some people to do the registration, live registration. We have something for the save the date, the electronic flyers, for the promotion, creating the poster, some information, and all the advertisements. So under that subcommittee, we have Harish and we have Bridget. Regarding the IV requirement, it will be within the HDSP staff by Luisa. And for the sponsor and donation, we are still, that subcommittee still there's no one assigned for it, but it will be help each other. So as long as we are live again, if there is anyone would like to sponsor or donate for this conference, for the sake of the parents and the kids, please reach out to Ayman Falahat or Saud or Sherry, the co-chairs. So you can donate for that, and we appreciate all the donation. Regarding the parent volunteers, until now we don't have someone, but we are still looking for any volunteer from the parents. And everyone in the live again. I think this is the good opportunity of the live that we can seek everything that we need. So we are looking for any parent they like to volunteer, and also for the PIC representative from all over the Halton board. If you can help us on that day, it will be appreciated. So this is from my end for the subcommittee. The other things that I would like to share for those, most of you who are new, the subcommittee that we ask for some people to be responsible for, it is not a matter that the others will not help out. We are here to help each other. But the main point that we need someone to lead that subcommittee so that there will be no conflict between each other. So this is the main reason, but still me, Sherry, Saud, and Ayman, we will jump here and there to help all the subcommittee. So you can see us here and there, but that doesn't mean you are alone here. We are here to help. And then whatever you need, my email is with you already. So you can just reach me for anything you need. So this is my end, Ayman. Take it.
Thank you, Zaina. Really appreciate that. And I see Sherry just joined us. I also see that Trustee Ahmed is on the call with us. He's joined us just a little while ago. Trustee Ahmed, I'm wondering if you would like to say hello. We introduced you earlier along with Trustee Zhang, and just wondered if you'd wanted to say a few words to our committee here, and we're also live right now to the public, to our parents community. Go ahead, Trustee Ahmed.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So my name is Naveed Ahmed. I'm one of the trustees from Milton, wards 3 and 4. I'm just this is my first term. Started a couple of months ago, and learning as we go. So there are experienced members on the committee, and Ayman is there to guide us. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone. and also to learn, and looking towards Ayman to teach me the ropes.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you here, Trustee Ahmed. I know that Sherry joined as well a little while ago. Sherry is for those of you who may not know, who are watching for the first time, our live feed. Sherry White is the other co-chair along with Saad Juman of the PIC committee. And Sherry, I'm wondering if you would like to say a few words about some of the pieces and the items around the conference. So we have discussed that we found the theme, we have found a keynote speaker, Dr. Jean Clinton, and Zaina just gave a bit of an outline about the different subcommittees, and these are our subcommittees. So we're still needing people to kind of take on the role of leading the child minding, the high school. What we're hoping is that Louisa, with your knowledge and your skill set in terms of the student body at the school, that you'll be able to help us promote at LC McGill, because some students, it might be challenging for them to travel and whatnot. But if you can promote it, they know the school well. We'll need a lot of people to help navigate the rooms and the locations for parents as they try to find different locations. I'm wondering if we could put you down for the high school student volunteers. Would that be okay, Louisa?
I can.
Very much.
I can do that with you as well, Louisa, because as well as being the co-chair for PIC, I'm also the co-chair of Parent Council at Milton District High School. So I'm going to rally some of the troops there, because I know there are still many of our high school students who are looking for their volunteer hours. And this is a great way to have, if you've got any students that need their volunteer hours, it's great. And usually we do need the volunteers, not only the day of, but usually the day before as well, when we're setting up the rooms and putting signage up, directions for the parents and for the next day. So it usually does give them a good chunk of their hours on that day.
Sounds great.
Now, Zina, I'm going to ask you, I know you in the past had usually organized some of the child minding. Would you mind coordinating that if we found you somebody to co-chair that with?
Yes, I can reach the YMCA like the last time. If you remember, I organize everything through the YMCA, and they provide us with the ECA and with the child minding teachers. So I can do that if you want. I don't mind.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
That's fabulous. I'm going to put back the original agenda on here, just so that it'll help guide our discussion, Sherry. I don't want to take this all on myself here, because really at the end of the day, this is
Absolutely
about our families here. So this is our original agenda here. So these are the items and topics that we talked about in terms of where we're at, and if you need me to open up one of those tabs, please let me know, and I'll share those as we move forward.
So I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here with what we have already discussed and figured out then. So is there more discussion that we need to have around choosing subcommittees now, or did we pretty much figured out?
Well, the subcommittees are here. I'm hoping that we're able to flush out all of that right now. This is the subcommittees.
Right. So
the child minding.
So Zina was going to help do that.
And then we're going to put here YMCA, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would we have volunteers as well in terms of parents that go and help in there? And then how do we invite some of the PIC reps that may want to engage their, co-chairs of school councils to volunteer. They may have some skills, they may have some passions that they want to help us with during that day, whether it's for child minding or someone wants to help out. So I guess we're trying to get at is the people that are currently chairing the subcommittees will need to start moving forward to search how to move, how to engage other people. How do we post a message on the PIC reps for the schools so that they can volunteer and send messages saying, I'd like to be part of that committee. The other thing that I wanted to share is that April is going to be a bit of a special month. So we purposefully planned the actual conference after Ramadan because we know that there'll be many families that are fasting and celebrating the month of Ramadan, and so we wanted to ensure that the conference is right after. But the exciting thing I wanted to share with people is that this year will be the first year, and we'll probably the first school board that will be celebrating Arab Heritage Month, and we're very, very excited about that. This is something that will be the first time that it happens across Canada. We're probably the first school board. We're working with some community organizations right now to see how we could celebrate that in our schools as well. And the month of April is also Sikh Heritage Month, and this is a tradition that's been ongoing for a very long time in our school board. So I guess I'm sharing this with you because the conference itself, it is in the month of April. It is at the end of April, which is a great way to celebrate those types of things and find a way to gel that into the theme of maybe celebrating that, especially Arab Heritage Month, because it's happening for the very first time. And we want our staff, our students, our community to feel proud of their heritage and where they come from. And I'm wondering if the catering could be reflective of something like that, potentially celebrating, the Arab heritage. And also, we certainly would not want to leave out the celebration of Sikh Heritage Month as well. So there could be some, different organizations that we invite to that, or any type of celebratory pieces that might add to that during the conference. That's something to think about. Okay, just wanted to pass that along. All right.
Are there organizations that you know of that would be good for the community displays? Like, I'm not sure. Like, is there an heritage group?
Oh, there could be. There's certainly lots of centers that support Arab communities. That, there's multiple places, and we could certainly reach out and invite some of them to come and be available to be part of the celebration, but also to be part of the support systems for our families in our community that are not aware of what's out there. We could certainly invite some folks to that. And for the people looking after community displays, and the other thing we need to think about is how do we bring some of our community agencies there so that parents will know what supports are available to them and their children. So those are the kinds of things that I'm hoping that we can flush out. Maybe not all today, but during the subcommittees when people meet. Mm-hmm. So I guess the ask here is, for example, Lorianne, and if somebody's helping Lorianne, how do you reach out and build a bit of a committee to start investigating the catering and what that looks like, costing? Do we want it where it's just a box, something that's prepared so it's easier for people to pick up rather than waiting in big lineups? Things like this where people could talk about that. So whoever is joining Lorianne on that committee, whether from this team, or Lorianne is going to build it with parents from across her system by reaching out to some schools. Wonderful. Laura is also going to help out. So I'm going to add you, Laura. Okay. So Sherry, I'm going to hand back. Here's the agenda. So we can continue from there because we started talking about the subcommittees.
Yep.
And here's the rest of the pieces while I update.
And well, I just see a few hands up. So Zena, you had a hand up?
Yes, thank you, Sherry. So I just want to add some stuff here. So regarding the theme and the months that Ayman talk about, I just want to add to you that the April is the National Volunteer Month. So we need the volunteer on that month, please. The other thing that I want to ask, as long as Ayman is here, so I want to know what is roughly in your mind that the number of the children that they will be attending, because this is one of the questions that the YMCA maybe will ask, to know how many ECE persons should be attending.
Well, Zaina, I wish I can give you that kind of response, but based on what I've been hearing, people are super excited to attend an in-person event.
Okay.
And so, this may be bigger turnout than when we had before the pandemic, because people haven't gone to such beautiful, conferences and things for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So you would know, you folks would know better because, if you had the last conference that you had about 500 people show up, or 450. How many children showed up for the child minding? And yes. It's probably going to be, I would say, we're going to have, probably about 600-700 people show up, maybe a bit more. Okay. And so, what does that look like for child minding? I'd rather be prepared for more than less.
Because this one would, this thing will lead us to another question. Like the previous years, we do the pre-registration Google Doc. So through that registration, there is a question, do you have a child or not? And if they are special need or not, and what is the age? So that one was already closed almost like a month before the conference. So we have an idea. Are we going to do the same this year?
Absolutely. There will be, I'm working with our team, and we have a list of to-dos. We are looking at getting, for example, some swag stuff for the parents to come. We're looking at getting T-shirts, for example, for the students that are going to be volunteering, so that parents can approach them and say, oh, these are the students over there. We're going to look at getting some T-shirts for or some kind of shirts for our committee here, so that people recognize who is the PIC committee and they can approach us for questions and help and whatnot. So those things are all in the works. Mm-hmm. We need help from all of you with the pieces around these subcommittees, so that people could start reaching out. And we don't need to make decisions. We need to do research and get a bunch of information and bring it back, so that we're going to have another meeting with the committee. And at that point, the meeting we will discuss. Somebody will say, well, I found these caterers, for example. I found these different options for us. This is what one charges. This is what the other one charges. And as a team, we'll be able to say, you know what, this is exciting. Let's go with that vendor, or let's go with this particular caterer. Yep. And the same thing with the speakers, right? We're going to come with a list of people. Hey, this is who's interested in speaking, and this is their topics. And somebody might say, well, you know what, we have too many in that specific area. Let's try, looking for another speaker that could speak to something else. And this is what we will do in that planning committee, again, just like we did last time. So the important thing is that the people that are now named on these, and again, I'll put the tab back on again. The people that are on these, they are the co-chairs of those subcommittees. And now it's time to start building. So we don't have anybody for promotions, and we don't have anything for or anyone for sponsors and donations if we want to go that route. I don't know that we need to go there yet, because I think the funds that we have might be enough. But if people feel that we need to get sponsors,
that would be the question, and it just comes down to what budget is left. So if the keynote has been booked and you know how much money is left over, then we can sort of budget out what would be needed for food, what we need to, pay the staff of the YMCA for that day. And then know that if there is shortfall, or, I know with a lot of some of our in the past, like the food, some of it was paid for. And then we did have some catering places and things that donated some, like, Cobb's Bread has always been a big supporter of
Yes.
Of any of our functions and events, and have donated food. So it's a matter of just knowing, if we would, if we need monetary donations, or we there are businesses out there that might want to donate, swag stuff or towards the food.
And
Well, we have some questions, and I just want to make sure that we honor those folks that have been patiently waiting.
Yes.
I think that
I know
Laura,
Laura had her hands up, and I think Reem had his hand up at one point too.
yeah, please let's move on to those.
So Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah, two quick questions. One is just any sort of ballpark price point. Like, I don't know if you in the past have done catering kind of like per person, are we looking at spending $5 per person or $20 per person? As we start to do our research, I feel like that would be helpful if it's available. And then I'm just wondering if there's any sort of vetting process for promotions. And I'm sure a lot of us maybe have it on our minds to just be cautious with that. So what I'm curious about the process for that, like whose keychain do you end up with and what do they represent and that sort of thing.
Well, thank you very much for that, Laura. I think that's a question fair that I should be responding to. So with regards to the food, we do have a administrative procedure that outlines, how much can be spent on lunch and whatnot, and we get that information once when we meet with the committee. But it would be in line with what had happened. We don't want to spend a maximum amount allotted. I think we may look at something like a $10 to $15 because lunch is not something that can be done for $4 or $5, right? We know the prices out there, and businesses are struggling to make ends meet in so many ways. We want to make sure that we do get a meal that is reflective of our parent community, and also making sure that it's something that people will actually enjoy and be a part of. So usually I would say between the $10 and $15 mark is what lunches are about now when we do any kind of catering and whatnot. And as far as promotions, I guess when I say promotions, we want to make sure we focus on the idea of we're not necessarily looking to promote people. We want to promote the event itself. We have a team in our graphics department that is starting, I think if they didn't start today, they're starting tomorrow to draft up a poster. If you'll remember some of the previous posters I shared with you, some of them look quite beautiful. How do we put a real targeted campaign to make sure people know about it? So can we reach out to schools? Can we reach out to principals to make sure people are aware? We have some flyers that we'll eventually print, and we want them posted at school entrances, for example, so that when parents see them, they'll say, wow, let me register for this. Those are the kinds of promotions that I'm talking about that we want. We want our team, whoever's in charge of that, to get a bunch of people from the schools on board and say, okay, everyone, how do we get this message out to people? And how do we get, and what is the maximum number of people we can have? We're going to work with the school and the capacity limits at the school. Like we can't host a conference for, 2,000 people or 1,500. We just don't have the space for that. We're going to have to cap it off at some point. And those are the kinds of promotions that really we're focused on. As far as donations, like for example, there may be businesses that say, you know what, I'd like to donate some prizes, door prizes and things that people may want. There could be one of the companies, maybe it's an electronics place nearby that wants to donate some door prizes or things like this that are going to be raffled off. Maybe that's something we want to do, and I don't want to decide for the group, but maybe that's something people want to do. Maybe there could be some local businesses in the community that want to donate, other types of items, books or things like this that we can give to presenters or to students that volunteer. Those are the kinds of things that I think would be great. Money is always, of course, always welcome if people want to donate. We can't put gigantic banners for people promoting. We can do modest promotions in newsletters and various things for organizations. We could certainly thank people to say at the conference, we thank this so-and-so donated this prize to us. We want to thank them, and now we're raffling it off to the local. The other thing that we may want to think about is reaching out to local, I won't name any names, but coffee shops and things like that may want to sponsor the coffee morning, because they've done that many times. Other places where they provide coffee and whatnot for the parents as they come in. Those are the kinds of donations that I think are quite incredible and very helpful. So that's the kind of stuff, and I hope that was helpful, the response.
And we've had in the past as well that usually when like the whether it's been a hard copy or even just like a computer copy, but of like where the list of workshops are that the parents are choosing from, there's usually a page that had logos, like the companies that had sponsored or donated in any way. It was just, letting there be their logos on the page to say that this was our list of, supporters and that kind of thing.
So I think we have Jennifer.
Yeah. Sorry.
Lorianne has a question. I think Lorianne was first, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry about that. Lorianne, go ahead.
No, it was Jennifer. Go ahead, Jennifer.
It doesn't matter. We can all get our turn. So as part of the subcommittee for community groups or community displays, I was just wondering, what is the maximum number before I start inviting people? I don't want to find out there's only 50 spots and 100 people accept or something, Do we have an idea of that yet?
To be quite honest, today I was talking to our team, our school operations team, Joanne and the executive assistant, Marta. And we were actually considering booking a time to come visit with Louisa just to see the foyer, how many people can we fit, displays, and also where these locations of these places are. Where will we host the main event when we have the keynote speaker, for example? Where's the best place to host that? How many people could that location fit? We want to do the little walk, and we were going to invite, for example, Zaina, the chair of the conference, and Sherry and Saad, and if someone else is able to join us, we're going to go during the day, because we do want to see, the place humming and how the flow is in the school. So
I think that would be very helpful, to see what the layout would be and then what space looks like.
Joanne will send out a message to say, for example, we're going on this day. If anybody's available, please join us, meet us at this time at the school. And here's the address. Okay, perfect. We'll send that to the committee just so that people can come. But one of the organizations that I think may be helpful for us is the Our Kids Network brings together multiple agencies and organizations. And I'm wondering if like I sit on their board and their committee, and we could also have a conversation with them about that, but I can help with a little bit of that. But they have all the major organizations are kind of part of that, or they have community planning tables. They have all sorts of people there. And I'm also hoping some of those organizations, they have expertise. They may want to present, be presenters for us. So, okay. Sherry, I'll hand it back to you. I think Lorianne was next.
Yes, Lorianne?
Yes, so I had a question with regards to the sponsorship. for food as I'm working with Laura. Is there like a sponsorship letter that we could maybe use in order to bring to these organizations and small businesses that will give them a sense of what it is that we're asking for and the organization that we're working on behalf of?
We do in sort of, I guess, the older files section. You'll see that we do have not only who previous, speakers and, who the displays were, but there were the letters, because there used to be 2 letters that went out. The one that was a donation, like for food donations, and then there was one for the, money and or, swag kind of thing. So I know that those letters are, Eamon has put the, sorry, on my screen it's really tiny right now, but I know that the letters exist. They're in one of those folders. So we do have them. We would just update them, obviously, with the date and time and what we're asking them for.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Eamon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lorianne. Lorianne, I was just wondering, when you say food donations, were you thinking for the actual catering for the lunch for people? Because we were actually looking at purchasing the lunch and having it kind of sort of uniform, so that it's not multiple places bringing lunch, so we're not having to depend on different arrival times, and so it would be just one caterer, but looking around to see which is the best caterer to bring the lunch kind of thing for lunch and breakfast.
You had mentioned something about like coffee shops and things like that for. Okay. So I was more leaning toward that.
Yeah, I was thinking about the big chains. I don't want to promote them right now because it depends on who gives us the free coffee. But the big chains do, and the really, really big one, they have done that in the past, where you walk in and speak to that local, the one that's closest to the location where the school is, or phone and speak to the manager and say, we are community close by here. There's going to be parents coming from this school community and various other. We have a big, huge event coming up. Wondering if you'd like to sponsor the coffee for that event. And sometimes, depending on the manager in the store, they will say absolutely, and then we just have to pick up the coffee kind of that day. They have these big, gigantic, coffee things, and they're really great. I know when I did things like this before, I approached and they were incredibly, this was in Toronto, but they were incredibly helpful to say, yeah, absolutely, we would love to do that.
So they don't require, what you're saying is that they didn't require a letter or anything?
Sometimes some do, and like Sherry said, we will absolutely help you with that.
Okay.
The letters are there, so it always looks good to be able to, give somebody something on, that has the logo, the board logo on it and letterhead. So it's just, and then it allows us to give them the lovely, nice, thank you letter or certificate afterwards as well.
Thank you.
Reem?
Yes, hi. Okay, so both Riza and I, we are responsible for the workshop committee and the speaker. I'm not sure is there a list of things that we need to be doing, or, do we need to reach out? Do we need to just, what are we exactly responsible for? What should we be doing at this point? Thank you.
So Sherry, feel free to jump in anytime. I'll just mention that what we're hoping is that the committee would get together and say something like, okay, in the morning, we will have the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker will start around, let's just say 9:30. So it gives parents an opportunity to get there and get organized. And then the keynote might go on until 10:30. Well, then we will have a workshop from 10:30 till 11:30 or 11:40, for example. And then how many workshops will we need to be running at the same time to accommodate all the people? And that's the kind of pieces. And then you say, okay, for example, the morning, we're going to run, if this is what the group decides, we are going to run one workshop, but we will have multiple presenters of different topics. So as a parent, I arrive, I go to the keynote speaker. After the keynote speaker, I get to choose where I want to go. And I have a list of different workshops that are available. Depending on space availability, well, I might like this conference versus that, with this workshop versus that workshop. If I have 700 people show up, how many workshops will we need, and how many can the classes fit? And do we have 2 presenters in the morning that may actually house 100 people, and we may want to pay those people to come in, the presenters, because they're very engaging or something like that? And that would need, do we need a budget for that? Most of the speakers, a lot of them do come for, especially our staff, they won't be paid. But that's the kind of planning that needs to happen. And then there's a lunch. After lunch, we may have 2 different workshops. So the same thing runs twice. So as a parent, I go to one, and then I decide I'm going to go to another one at 2 o'clock, for example. And so the workshop committee would actually start thinking about that and working with Joanne and Marta, my exec assistant as well, to say, hey, these are the kinds of things we're thinking about. Is there any previous, let's look in the old folder. How did they lay out the conference before? What kind of presenters did they have before? What kind of topics do we want? And then we can get to a place where we might be now reaching out to people to say, listen, here are the theme. Does anybody, we'll help with some of that by reaching out to our team members, our staff, our leaders, our central principals, our managers and well-being, and all these other folks. We could reach out and say, are you interested to come in and help us? And then there's also the community organizations. For example, somebody might say, oh my goodness, I saw this incredible presentation by the folks from The Rock. Or I saw this great presentation by another agency that it's for newcomers or something like that. It'd be great to have them for our parents. And then they would reach out to say, are you available? Could somebody do it? And then we'll let you know. If they bring it back to the committee and saying, here's what we found. Here's what we're thinking about. What does the committee think? And then we'll say, go ahead, let's book these ones and move on. But we will help you. You're not on your own. You can call Joanne and Marta. The contact information is available, and we will help you with all of that. It's not about you just going, you could start planning it though, and designing and thinking and getting some people on board.
Yep.
I hope that was helpful. Sherry, please jump in if you feel.
Well, Ali, you have a question too?
I do. Thanks, Sherry. I'm looking forward to working with Reem on this. So I was going to suggest that once Reem and I actually contact and speak, we may have a list of questions that we could approach you folks with. But I do have 2 questions I'd like to ask right now, and that is, I think logistically we'll be confined to how many available spaces are in the Milton School. And so if we can get a rough idea of that, that'd be great. And the second thing is, are we paying each workshop host? And if we are, how much are we paying them? Just because I know that'll be a question as we start reaching out to workshop hosts, that'll come up, and it'd be nice to know that in advance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The workshops themselves, typically, there hasn't been a lot of paid workshops. Usually we pay for a keynote speaker, and they might be, 1 or 2, somebody that might charge $500 for a workshop or $1,000, something like that, where they're likely to draw 100 people in there. Like, for example, Sherry mentioned a speaker earlier. We may be able to book that person, maybe not, we're not be able to pay like a keynote speaker rate, but we may be able to book. And then some of the people that had the pro grants last year, that's why I'm suggesting we reach out to some of these folks in the schools, because some of them, we saw a list of workshops that people offered last year, and some that people are planning to offer this year because they put proposals for the pro grants. And then some incredible speakers there. Some of them are free, some of them are $500. So we can't pay everybody at those because we don't have the money to pay everyone. But I think that, if we're saying we need a couple of spaces where we do 100 parents in that location, because it's impossible to have 40 workshops because we have so many people coming. For example, if we have 100 here, 100 here, and then we say the rest are all mini workshops, well, the 100, maybe we need to get some paid presenters. And if you feel that that's what's needed, then we could look at the budget and say, yeah, let's do that if that's what's needed.
Sina, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. So just adding to that, regarding the speaker and the display. So, like from the previous experience, but we cannot make it as a rule, but just, like loud thinking, at least 12 workshop. So at least 12 representation. And when you select the presenter, the first question, can you represent one session or two or three? So that you will, in that case, you will have an idea. If it is one, then you need 11 people, maybe more. If they can represent twice the same topic or not, then you will have less representation. And if they can make 3 sessions, then you will know. So this is the first question. The other one, the display themselves, sometimes they like to do presentation too. So it is 2 in 1. So this is the other question. Are you going to display a table, a community display? Are you going to represent too? Yes or no? So in that case, there will be some cross-reference between 2 subcommittee. That's why it is a teamwork to know if they are just displaying, or presenting, or if they are just only presenting, and how many sessions, 1 or 2 or 3. So this is just heads up in the beginning to think about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Zaina. I'm going to share something with you, Sherry. This is Joanne has asked, if we could choose on one of these scenarios of what the day looks like. Remember, I mentioned earlier, does it have 1 workshop in the morning? Does it have, what time does the keynote start? So here's the different scenarios. So 3 workshop sessions, meaning you got we need to decide on something is what Joanne was wanting from us today. So this is scenario 1. This is scenario, I'll go back to them. Scenario 2, 3 workshop sessions, but here's the start time and finish time. And there's scenario 3, start time. Look at the start time of the keynote speaker and the end time. So we will need to decide on which scenario as a group that we think best suits the community, and will make for a successful day. So take a look at scenario 1. Sherry, do you want to go through that scenario? Because you know these things really well, and Zaina as well.
Well, with the first scenario, and I will say that this is probably a later start than I've ever seen, but it's having the welcoming and having the keynote speaker with the first workshop before lunch, and then having a break for the lunch, and then having 2 workshop sessions after lunch. And the day would run for parents coming in from 10 o'clock till 3:30. So obviously, though, I mean, really what's not on some of these scenarios either is that check-in time, which is on that scenario 2, because even with the scenario 1, we would still need to, there's still going to be some kind of registration desk or sign in that the parents are going to have to come to in the morning, so that we know that if we're still falling in with the parameters of the numbers that we have, but obviously if they've registered their kids for the child minding, we need to make sure there's time to sign the kids in and bring them down to wherever the child minding is. And so the parents will be at the keynote on time. But it does look like usually if we can keep 2 workshops after lunch, that sometimes is one of the better scenarios, because we have had, there have been instances in the past where if there's only 1 workshop after lunch, that there are some parents who aren't able to, or just don't stay for the whole day. And then that sort of last workshop time isn't as utilized as much as we'd like it to be.
Sherry, I think you have Raz's hand up.
Yes. Ali, do you want to?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. Just from my experience of going to these for the past few years, I was actually going to suggest scenario 1 minus session C, so that it's a shorter day, so that parents are coming in parents are coming in for a condensed time. It's the weekend, so we have to respect that. And then that way people can go home by 2:30, 3 o'clock at the latest. Logistically, it also helps out because we would just be setting up 1 group of workshop hosts, and then they would just roll and do it again for session B. So parents can just pick and choose between the same workshops twice. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
Zena, I know what you're going to say, but yeah.
You know me, Sherry.
We did that the last time. We did the 2 workshop. We went down from 3 to 2 because that's exactly
yes, we did it the last time. My question here, maybe Ayman, you can help me that, or you can discuss it internally with Juan and Marta. That's, do we really need a lunchtime for 1 hour? Why we just do it as a refreshment, grab and go all the day, like the last time that we did, and we shorted that time, and the workshop running over, and it will be 50 minutes between every workshop to exchange from one room to another room, and the refreshment is there. We can save the money of the lunch. We can finish earlier, and I think is the best way. I don't know, just grabbing some idea. Yes, thank you.
The one thing just to keep in mind is that with the shorter lunch is that making the time for people to stop by the community displays. And I know that the last time, when the last PIC conference that we put on, we did only have 2 workshops. So we sort of did one after the keynote. There was a break, and we had one in the afternoon, but those break times and where we sort of had the food set out for people to sort of grab and go were strategically planned, that they had to go down the hallway where certain community displays were. So they were taking advantage and having some time to go through the community displays, on their way to pick up either their coffee and donut in the morning, or if it was sort of, I don't want to say it was sandwiches. I know we had one company that had done all kinds of different wraps, and with the wraps, they were able to give us that variety of who needed vegetarian, who needed vegan, who needed, whatever dietary restrictions, non-dairy, non-gluten-free. The list can be large. So that is something to look at when getting the food, is that as much as we want to bring in so sometimes we might need more than one vendor if someone can do the multicultural thing, but can't always do all the dietary restrictions. So it's making sure that, yes, for people that do want to sit down and network with each other, if there is the cafeteria space or some tables set up that people can sit if they want to eat, but usually it was sort of as they walk through, they would still be able to get to those community displays. And especially if any of the community displays are paying for their spots, which obviously gives us the Okay, but we want to make sure that they feel that they're getting their money's worth too, that they didn't set up and nobody, stopped by to talk to them or take a look at what they had. But we did definitely find that the 2 workshops, sort of one in the morning and then one after that break, seemed to work best. So for any parents that had to leave early, it was great. For kids getting out of the child minding, that was great. And it didn't leave, again, some workshops, were not as popular. And by that afternoon session, we had, people leaving early because they didn't have anybody register for their workshops. So I definitely think it might end up being a combination of all the scenarios, but regardless of what time we start, we do need to make sure that at least that hour for the check-in and the child minding registration is there before any keynote and introductions start. Zina?
Thank you, Sherry. Regarding the timing of the start, I think the scenario 1 is good timing, especially it will be in Milton, so that all the parents can reach on the time with the registration, even if they are pre-registered online, at least for the child minding and everything. And still after the registration, if the parents come within the first hour, still have time until the keynote. Maybe the lunchtime we can short it to half an hour, so that half an hour they can go through the table. And also between the speaker, the 15 minute, if still there is a time. And maybe like from our previous experience, the food will be on the floor of the walk. So whenever they are changing from one room to another, there is some tables here and there in the second floor and the first floor near the display, some chairs. So it is just, an idea, but I think all of this will find the final resolution once we see the floor plan of the school. Thank you.
And I guess we just need to keep in mind too, and Louisa, you would know this best, what's the capacity, and making sure that, I guess we keep traffic flow in certain areas open because it's a zoning, fire thing. But I know always what our best intentions are. We're going to have some, usually it's the head custodian who will tell us, how wide the hallway is and how many tables can go there with people walking through, just to make sure that, if anything should happen, nobody's going to get stuck anywhere. So I guess really we just need to sort of figure out, rough budget left over after you book that keynote speaker. We would know how many displays and what the traffic would be like and how many classrooms once we have a chance to do the walkabout. And then, sort of booking things around there. So, and yes, going through some of those old files to know what we had done, in previous years. And just knowing that, there are letters of introduction there that we would obviously edit and, so we could approach either the businesses or, Jennifer, for you for the community displays. Like I said, there would be letters there as well.
Sorry, Laura just put her hand up.
Yeah. Laura, did you have a question?
Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. So I'm just looking at scenario 1. I also like that one. I'm just wondering in terms of refreshments like coffee and whether there's muffins or whatever there is. In the past, has it just kind of been available and you go grab a coffee at any time, or that 15-minute break, is that kind of like a designated, there's stuff out and that's when it's put out? Because I was just thinking with 6 or 7, well, if there's that many people, even 400 people, that 15 minutes isn't enough time really for that many people to grab a coffee and get to their workshop. So I'm just not sure how it was done in the past. If it's just like ongoing, someone's in charge of making sure the coffee is always full, and whenever you need to grab a coffee or water or juice or whatever is being served, then you do that. Or if there's an actual break between sessions for like snack break. Thank you.
So if I may, just in my experiences, so typically, people come in the morning and that's when they have their coffee. During lunch, there might be some water and other beverages. And I'm not sure that we'd order coffee twice because we're not a venue, right? I mean, the venues typically they would, freshen up the coffee and whatnot. So we have to figure out how that would happen at the school. I don't, Louisa, does your school have a food school there? Yeah, so they don't have a food school. And sometimes we're lucky and we're fortunate that we have a food school in the high school. And we would just work with them to do the catering, and they could have students there volunteering to set up the food. And so some of our schools do have that, and maybe we'll be fortunate next year to do it in a school where they have a program like that. But for this particular one, I think maybe if there's coffee in the morning, if we want coffee in the afternoon, then we may have to order it or purchase it or whatnot. Like if we got free coffee in the morning, for example, we may need to do something different in the afternoon for people. The scenario one seems to be the favorite so far, but is the start time a good time like that? So come in 9 o'clock, start registering, and then 10 o'clock, welcome and introductions. And the keynote speaker starts at 10:15. The reason I think that they put 15 minutes after the keynote speaker, as you can imagine, when you go to your very first workshop, you don't know which rooms are filled. You might go to a room and all of a sudden it's already filled, and then you'd have to find another workshop location, your choice A and choice B, because my understanding is it's a little bit complex when people register for the workshops ahead of time, because in the past, some of the families or parents didn't show up the day of, and some of the workshops may have been, a bit empty, and it gives an indication that, we're not sure who's going to be in those spaces. So apparently what happens and what works well, and Zaina and Sherry and whoever was at the last one, please jump in at any time and give your thoughts on that. But my understanding is people, they have a list of workshops that day and they just go wherever they want. If that works well in the past, that's what I was told.
Yeah, it's very well, because as long as it is in the flyer or the workshop, no need for it to be there in the pre-registration, because it doesn't make sense to register for some workshop and you didn't show up. So after the keynote, the flyer will be distributed during the registration once the parents will come, so they can choose from the workshop. And after the keynote, everyone will be going through to the assigned room.
So do you like the scenario start time? I guess I got to take this back to Joanne. Do you like a 10 o'clock start, or did you want a 9:30 start? For example, you could do a 9:30 start if that's what you should choose, and we could end sooner. Or is 10 o'clock a better start for families and parents and all that Saturday morning?
You mean the registration started from 8:30 to 9:30?
No, like scenario one says 9 to 10 is the check-in. So the scenario 2 says 8:30 to 9:30 is check-in, and then the actual conference starts at 9:30. The workshop setup, we could, people said we want one workshop in the morning and 1 or 2 workshops in the afternoon. And that's pretty easy, right? It's pretty straightforward. One-on-one may, some folks said that one workshop after lunch may not keep people in the place for the afternoon after lunch.
It is unsuccessful, yeah.
Yeah, so 2 workshops in the afternoon sounds like a good thing after lunch.
Yes.
And if people decided they want to leave the last workshop, that's up to them, but at least they'll stay for one.
Yes.
And we'll offer it to them.
Yes.
And again, there'll be, multiple workshops depending on the number of people that register.
Yeah, and if you want to make the lunch like a small refreshment or whatever, then maybe it will become half an hour, then you can gain some 15 minutes here and there. Yeah, so it's up to you guys.
And Laura, just so to answer your question before, like sometimes if coffee might have been offered in the morning, with a light refreshment. Some of those refreshments were things like fresh fruit, like apples, bananas, granola bars, and those types of food offerings were still sort of available throughout the day. So if somebody was going, from one workshop to the other, let's say, at 2 o'clock, and maybe, they need something, a little pick me up or something, they would still be able to go by the area where, the food is and grab something like that. So not necessarily a hot coffee, but we've also encouraged, people to bring their own water bottles, because a lot of the schools have the water stations. So, it might be that there might be like a juice box or something available, but usually if they bring their own beverage, but at least that there were some little snacky things available throughout the day. And then if it was like a box lunch, grab and go type thing, that was just offered at that sort of, the lunchtime provided. If that makes sense.
So may I, is it safe to say that we're choosing option one?
Yep.
Okay, so
Yes,
I'll let
it-
Joanne, scenario one is what the group would like. And the idea that Laura had about coffee in the afternoon, if there are 2 workshops, well, the catering and committee, maybe that's something that we need to do, and we just need to order, and somebody maybe delivers it, or maybe a couple of parents go to a local shop that's close by. We ordered it ahead of time, obviously, and somebody just says to them, we need, 1 in the morning. Maybe they can give us a free one for the morning, and then maybe we purchase from the afternoon for them, from that same location, if they were willing to offer us, something. Maybe that's will meet the needs of the community and also Laura's idea. So anyway, that's just some thinking for the group. The one thing I wanted to say is that I realized at the beginning when Saad started the meeting, I don't think we approved the minutes from last time, and I think it's important to do that. And I don't know if anybody was taking minutes today as well. If anybody made the notes, would be grateful if you could send them to Joanne's way. If anybody made any minutes for today, we would be grateful. There is a template for minutes on our agenda, the original agenda that was shared right here. So if you click on the tab, you'll see these are the different scenarios. This is the subcommittees tab on here. The minute template is right at the beginning here. And these are the November minutes. We need to make sure that someone passes a motion. Sherry, maybe you could take over with that piece. I think it's important for us to do that, just to keep in line with our work, because we're getting close to the end of our meeting.
Yeah. So would anybody like to make a motion? Well, if I make the motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, is there anybody that will? Okay. So I will take that. So Zena, I saw Zena, the little thumbs up go first. So Zena, if you are making the motion, and Jennifer, you're seconding the motion, yep, to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Thank you. Okay. And just to keep in mind, if anybody is going to be volunteering or having their kids volunteer that day, that even though the registration and start time might be at 9 o'clock, it does mean that our PIC team and our student volunteers need to be there probably about an hour or 2 earlier. So their day will start at probably about 8 o'clock in the morning to be at the school.
Sleep over there.
And I think
that's up to Louise and the staff, but they could just have a sleep in. I don't know.
I think that we also mentioned that there may be, I'm not sure yet, but we'll check with Louisa and of course the principal at LC McGill, if there's a possibility to go in on the Friday, if there are some things that need to get set up the day before. That's something for people to think about. So April 28th, on the Friday, we may need a team to go down there, like the subcommittees and their volunteers. If you have a committee made up, to go down there and set up some things, and then in the morning to come in and finish off what needs to be done, might be a good idea.
Yes, Lorianne?
Sorry, I may have missed it. Was there a date set up for the tour?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. We will organize something with Louisa to make sure that we're not impacting their day. Like, we're thinking about something towards the end of the day so that we could see a little bit of the flow, and when there's a lot of people in there, what it looks like. And also have an opportunity to, so maybe like a meet down. Louisa, is your school day finish at 3 or 3:30?
At 3:15.
3:15. So maybe meeting down there at like 2 o'clock or 2:15 in the afternoon. Walk around a little bit, and then at the end of the day, go into some empty spaces, look at things, look around, and make some notes, take some pictures of the empty spaces. Not when there are people in there, of course, but take some pictures of the empty spaces so that we could help with our planning. We'll do that very soon. I'll get Joanne to send out a message to this group here to say, here's the date. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to, send off a whole bunch of whoever can come and join us. We'll take pictures and bring back, but we have to, pick a date pretty much and set it up with Louisa and head down there. We won't be able to, do a whole, survey and who's available and all that. It would be challenging to do that.
Okay. So I know I did send, so obviously Joanne got the email because I asked her about the swag and the t-shirts and stuff. So, but it looks like we've covered everything on the lists for this. I think with the saving the date, I mean, I guess things about, I noticed you've got some things on there about the, parking and and if we're going to be offering transportation, but I guess that would come with, once we get some of the registrations coming in.
So one of the things that I asked about, I don't know if it's possible, but one of the things I asked about is if it was, what if we set up a couple of buses or a few buses in each area, one bus or two buses in each area, like, for example, to send a bus up to somewhere up in Halton Hills, and then let community know, if you need transportation, the bus will be here at this time to this time, and we'll transport you and bring you back. So one in Burlington, and we'll look for communities that are I would say to you that, perhaps the community is, in need of additional support to get there. So park it at a school that might be in a community that needs additional support, rather than parking it at one of our, super affluent community areas. Park the bus in communities that traditionally would need a little bit of additional support. So we're looking at maybe, we're just talking about that now, a bus in Burlington, a bus over in Halton Hills, and a bus in Oakville, perhaps in some of the South Oakville areas and that need additional support. And in Milton, I think it's close enough for where Elsie McGill is. We may or may not offer a bus in Milton, but we'll offer a bus in each of those zones. If this is viable, if this is something we can do, we will absolutely do that. And we'll pick a school that they can park the bus there and wait for a period of time before they depart.
I think, and Zena might be able to correct me, I think the year we did it at Craig Kielburger, because of there's some construction going on at the school, it limited the parking. So we sort of had a pickup, just, sort of like a park your car over here kind of thing, and had like a little shuttle service because there wasn't enough space for everybody to park at the school. And it wasn't in an area where you could do a lot of street parking there either. So I know we have done something like that in the past where we had to shuttle people sort of closer because it just wasn't available. But
we'll have to probably reach out to the local town and make sure, police are supportive and all that. Louisa, you do have some parking at the school, correct? And then is there an opportunity for people to park on some nearby streets where you are?
There are some side streets, but not that many.
Okay.
But we do have parking, quite a bit of parking in the school.
That's fantastic.
Good to know.
So, we'll encourage, maybe in the messages, we'll encourage parents to carpool and all that. It's good for the environment, good, and people that can walk and people can, if they want to, what we're hoping is the busing is not really, it's for accessibility purposes really, and making sure people are able to make it. I don't want anyone that wants to come not attend because they don't have an opportunity to transport themselves down there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we've covered everything off for the planning of the conference so far, and obviously the subcommittees will be reaching out with each other and back to Saud and I for sort of overseeing this with Zena. So it is time for the trustee updates, and I noticed that I think Kelly snuck in here recently. So we we have three
I'm
trustees.
not really here though. Naveed and
Hello, Trustee Amos.
Hi.
Welcome.
thank you. Naveed will probably be able to give you the update, or Sean.
Okay, so I didn't know if you were here to report or not. I just wanted to say hello.
This is Shinizan, so I'll do the update.
Thank you.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, most of the HDSB trustees attended the Ontario Public School Board Association 2023 Symposium. In the conference, trustees attended the group discussions. So we are in the Central West region. So in the discussion, several issues are commonly addressed, such as the transportation, school bus and school bus safeties. And the identified issues are the areas we need to work on. And in the Public Education Symposium, Trustee Amy Collett was elected as the policy member of the Central West region. And the second update is the school board is doing the boundary review for the Georgetown and Aldershot Burlington. These boundary reviews are in progress, and several public meetings and the public consultation meetings are already done. So the most recent, in the past 2 to 3 weeks, the consultation meetings are held on January 24th and 31st, respectively, for these two regions. And there's a lot of factors are considered in this boundary review, including affected number of students, transportation, school buses, walking distance, and public council. Now the planning team are working on the collected data. And the third updates as at HDSB, as you know, we have the Inspire Award. This is an award for the recognition for all our HDSB community members who love and care for our students. The HDSB community members can be teachers, school bus drivers, and crossing guards. In the past couple of months, I have learned lots of amazing stories. Parents to share your stories and send your nomination. The nomination can be submitted through the HDSB website, and at the end of each month, the school board will get the nomination information for evaluation. And Inspire Award recipient will be invited to the board meeting. The first board meeting of the month and of every month, the board will announce the award recipients and present awards to them. The recipients are welcome to invite their families and friends to come to the board meeting and together. Yes, that's the updates for today.
Thank you so much for that. Superintendent updates? You kind of went by that screen pretty quick.
Yeah, I actually gave my superintendent updates within the first part, which was regarding Black History Month, and also announcing the piece around Arab Heritage Month, something very new, very exciting for our system. And just wanted to, pass that back to you, Sherry, for the next meeting and adjournment, of course, to pass the motion for that.
Well, before we do adjourn, does anybody else have any comments or questions that before we go? We're all good. Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for April the 20th. And my information and Sad's information is there if you do need to email us in the meantime. And I will say that we will be probably getting something together as well, that we can make a statement either on the boards that will go out to all the PIC committee members, or something that we can, the schools will have as a center voice for their upcoming parent council meeting. So we do make sure that everybody does know about the conference. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of letting all of our schools know, but in case there's that odd one that doesn't know, we'll make sure that we center voice the heck out of them and let them know to save the date for the 29th. And that to keep an eye out too for the registration forms that will be sent out as well. So, and yes, I think there was a question in there about making sure that the registration forms included things like, do you have a child that needs care of? Would transportation be an issue? And then of course, are there any dietary requirements that we need to know about for the day of the conference? And again, if you think of anything that we've left off, please feel free to let us know, and we will make sure that everything is included. So I know I'll be talking to some of you obviously before the 20th of April, but thank you for coming tonight, and for everybody watching. Thank you. And please, if you'd like to volunteer or get involved, please do that. Have a great night.
Should we pass a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yes, pass it. I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting. Sina, and can we get and Jen, thank you. Again, Lorianne as well, as seconded.
Okay.
And
Good night, everyone.